Thank you guys for coming. Today we'll be talking about Haiti and poverty. My name is David. My group is Neftali and Philip. First, we'll start off with the background report of Haiti. A snapshot of Haiti. Haiti used to be Hispaniola, which then eventually broke into the Dominican Republic and Haiti. They are neighboring lands that share similar characteristics geographically. They have very beautiful beaches and very beautiful lush land and jungles. This is great for tourist attractions and should bring in economic growth. However, Haiti and Dominican Republic are on two different trends when it comes to economic growth. The Dominican Republic has grown vastly while Haiti has struggled. The reason why Haiti has struggled would have to do with the 2010 earthquake that took place and has destroyed buildings, as is the one you see in the PowerPoint right now, and the multiple years of political unrest and instability that has taken place within their government as well. The developmental issues with Haiti are so vast and so many that the United Nations has listed them as the lowest country in the Western Hemisphere when it comes to their Human Development Report. This takes into factors like health, poverty, jobs, security, labor force, and food security. Some relevant research to back that up. The poverty in Haiti has reached astronomical levels. 60% of Haiti's 60% of Haiti's population is under the national poverty line of $2 a day, while approximately 25% of the population is living in extreme poverty, which is at $1.25 a day. Why is this? Why is Haiti in poverty while the Dominican Republic is thriving and they live right next to each other? It has to do with the labor force mainly. The labor force, unfortunately, is very poor in Haiti. 40% of Haitians are unemployed or underemployed, and 2/3 of the labor force have informal jobs, which means an unsteady paycheck. In addition to that, there's an abuse of child labor. The child labor is estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands, and they're unpaid laborers, unfortunately. This all has to stem from education. The lack of skilled workers in Haiti is very high. That means that they have to fight for jobs that are very scarce and very poor in pay and in stability. Some evidence to back this up. There's an absence of education in Haiti. 50% of Haitians or children in Haiti do not attend school, primary and secondary. And of that 50%, only 10% of Haitians complete secondary school or higher. While enrollment rates may be increasing, the dropout rate is even higher. That means that kids are going to school or they begin school. However, once they get to school, they realize that is not beneficial to them because they can't learn when they're on empty stomachs. They can't learn when they're hungry, when they're trying to survive. And then they basically drop out and try and get a job in those informal work settings. There's an excuse for their absence, of course. More than 50% of the entire population in Haiti is food insecure, which means they do not know when their next meal is going to come from. They do not know if they're going to eat today or maybe tomorrow, or if they're ever going to eat in the week. 22% of the children are chronically malnourished. That means that they have such poor eating conditions that they most likely will always stay underdeveloped in their mental aspect, in their growth aspect, in every aspect that has to do with growing. Nearly 70% of all Haitians do not have direct access to water or clean drinkable water. As you can tell in the picture right here, this is of a child in Haiti holding their water bottle that they have in their left hand, being the brown water, and then a nice clear water bottle in the right hand, that being one of the UNICEF delivery waters. The proposed intervention So, as mentioned previously, we're trying to get children to come to school, to invest in school. The best way to do that is kind of in a laissez-faire way. That means that we're going to try and guide children to come to school through um, through encouragement of feeding them. Because over 100,000 children are malnourished and there's unsafe drinking water, we basically want to provide them with a free breakfast, snack, and lunch program, addition with water, of course, to their primary and secondary schools to give these kids something to look forward to, some incentive to, hey, I want to come to school today to learn and to, of course, eat. We will also be evaluating this policy that I've put together or that we put together. The evaluation process that we've chosen is random controlled trial testing. The measurement units that we will be covering would be the attendance rate, the state exam scores, and the enrollment rate in that order of importance. Attendance rate being the highest because we want to get students in seats. That is the main thing of our policy, the main identity of our policy. Randomized controlled trial testing, as mentioned previously. We will randomly select 5% of all primary schools and 5% of all secondary schools to be a part of our study nationally. Out of that 5%, we will select 2.5% of each a primary school and a secondary school at random to be a part of our treatment group. And the other 2.5% that we did not choose at random will be the control group. What does this mean? The treatment group will receive our new food assistance policy, and we will monitor them to see how the policy will benefit them and to see if our attendance rates may raise or if our scores may raise, in addition to also monitoring the control group, which will not receive anything from us, unfortunately, but they will receive monitoring to make sure that their numbers are being taken into account as well. The evaluation period will be 1 whole year. Our hypothesis here is, of course, that the treatment group will see a rise in attendance rates, state scores, and enrollment rates because of the fact that they will have an incentive to come to school. They'll have an incentive to stay in school and to stay engaged in school, while the control group may see either a decrease in these same units, desired measurable units, or just stay the same. In addition to random controlled trial testing, we'll also be looking at difference in differences. This is basically an internal audit in a way. We'll be checking 4 years previously of each school and the current year of the trial school of the tested year to see if enrollment rates, test scores, and attendance rates raised within those treatment groups. And this will mitigate any extraneous factors and any selection bias that we may have had. Maybe it wasn't at random. This will basically test the own scores of the treatment group to itself as well as the treatment group to the controlled group. To continue from there, like I mentioned previously, we'll see that the policy that we put in place either assisted the school in growing its attendance rates, its scores, and its enrollment rates, or we'll see that it has no change at all. Depending on these factors, we will decide whether we want to implement the policy nationwide or if we need to stop the policy because it does not have any effect on these measurable units. Our expected results. So we have no actual testing going on right now. Therefore, we have to use previous studies to see if our results, see our expected results. What we used here was the International Food Policy Research Institute, published by the Food Policy Review. This has been written by 3 scholars, and what they've come to a conclusion on is that attendance matters in school. And food policies have increased attendance rates in schools in developing countries such as Jamaica, Peru, and Bangladesh. For instance, for Jamaica, their attendance rates rose by 3% for the malnourished children and 2% for the healthy children, just because the school program had food and they decided, hey, my incentive to come has now increased. Peru's attendance rate has rose 0.6% in the treatment school, while the same rate has dropped 3% in the controlled school. So while this treatment group did not rise too much, it still stayed steady, while the drop rate at the controlled groups lowered. And the reason being, they had no incentive to stay in school. Now, Bangladesh's test scores were 16% higher than the controlled schools because they were able to focus in class and learn the material. The expected long-term results of the policy: improvements in primary and secondary school attendance will have long-lasting effects. The kids will go to school, attend school more often, increasing graduation rates. The test scores will increase. This will basically make the kids smarter, make the kids more educated, make the kids a much higher working force. Much higher working force creates a skilled labor force. Skilled labor force creates jobs such as the one you see on the picture here in laboratories where they could actually get a steady income. And steady incomes, of course, means money to purchase food, money to buy housing, money to buy clothes, money to buy water, stability, and to eventually get out of poverty, which is the end goal